Hello viewers, as you are already aware that we do in-depth research on the important issues happening around the world. Therefore, to continue with our in-depth reports and to enhance your information and knowledge, we have some important observations on US and Chinese deep states that are orchestrating strategic maneuvers in the Indo-Pacific to undermine and kick out Modi regime to restore democracy in India, because both US and China see India as a big market, and they also know that by restoring democracy in India, entire population will benefit economically, and therefore in result both the Chinese and American companies can benefit out of economic progress of Indian population. Both the Chinese and American deep state are watching that under the Modi regime only two business houses of Adani and Ambani are rising economically, and otherwise entire population of India is facing financial crisis, and this aspect is not beneficial to both of them. Friends, it's a very deep research topic, therefore we request you to understand this up to the end, and before we start to elaborate more on this important topic, we request you to subscribe to our channel for getting this types of well-researched updates happening around the world. See friends, the Indo-Pacific region has emerged as the crucible of global power politics, where the United States and China, two titans of the modern era, are deploying their deep state machineries to assert dominance over South Asia. At the heart of their intricate geopolitical strategies lies India, a nation of 1.4 billion, a burgeoning IT powerhouse, and a strategic linchpin. Both superpowers, friends, are not merely vying for regional control but are actively working to reshape India's political landscape by targeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi's ouster under the guise of restoring democracy. While their motives are rooted in self-interest, the potential outcome of their actions could inadvertently benefit India's citizens, who have borne the brunt of Modi's governance, which many argue has weakened democratic institutions and enriched crony capitalists like Adani and Ambani at the expense of the common man. This article unravels the covert strategies of the US and Chinese deep states and explores how their geopolitical games might align with the aspirations of millions of Indians seeking a more equitable and democratic future. The Indo-Pacific as the global chessboard. Friends, the Indo-Pacific, rebranded from the Asia-Pacific to stroke India's ego, is the stage where the US and China are playing a high-stakes game of influence. The US, through its intelligence agencies like the CIA and strategic institutions, and China, via its Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, and economic leverage, are both acutely aware that South Asia, with India at its core, holds the key to global dominance in the 21st century. India's demographic might, economic potential, and strategic location make it indispensable. Yet both powers see Modi's assertive leadership as a hurdle to their ambitions. China's string of pearls policy, friends, has long been a masterclass in encirclement. By securing strategic ports and influence in Pakistan, Gwadar, Sri Lanka, Hambantota, Maldives, Myanmar, Coco Island, Bangladesh, Nepal, and even Bhutan, China has woven a noose around India. Pakistan is firmly in China's orbit, with Gwadar as a BRI cornerstone. Sri Lanka's Hambantota port, leased for 99 years, and Maldives Islands are under Beijing's sway. Myanmar's Coco Island, equipped with a 3 km airstrip, and Bangladesh's infrastructure projects further tighten the grip. Nepal and parts of Bhutan, especially post-Doklam, are increasingly drawn into China's sphere, limiting India's regional maneuverability. This strategy, friends, is designed to contain India and ensure it remains a secondary player in China's Asia-centric world order, not to be outmaneuvered. The US has crafted its own octopus web, a counter-strategy to wrest South Asia from China's grasp while simultaneously bringing India to heel. The Biden administration laid the groundwork, but Trump's second term has intensified this approach. The U.S. deep state, recognizing that Asia's century hinges on South Asia, has systematically re-engaged India's neighbors to create a web of dependency. Friends, this is not just about countering China, it's about ensuring India, under Modi, does not emerge as an independent power challenging American hegemony, the American octopus, ensnaring India's neighbors. Friends, the U.S. has moved decisively to recapture South Asia. Pakistan, once a key ally, drifted toward China during Biden's tenure, with no direct communication between U.S. and Pakistani leaders for 4 years. Trump's return has reversed this, with Pakistan's General Asim Munir and Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif aligning with American interests. The Pasni port, 100 kilometers from Gwadar, is now targeted for a U.S. naval base in the Arabian Sea, a move to counter both China and India. Afghanistan, post-U.S. withdrawal, is another focus, with Trump eyeing the Bagram Air Base to pressure Pakistan and, indirectly, India. In the Maldives, friends, the U.S. uses IMF and World Bank loans to secure influence, with strings that ensure compliance with American strategic goals. Sri Lanka, burdened by Chinese debt, has been reeled back through massive IMF bailouts, effectively placing Colombo under U.S. economic control. Bangladesh is a striking case, friends, the ousting of Sheikh Hasina, who balanced India and China, and the installation of Muhammad Yunus, a U.S.-backed figure, signal a shift. The U.S. is reportedly eyeing St. Martin's Island and Mongla Port, using economic leverage to secure strategic assets. Nepal, too, has been pulled from China's orbit with $900 million in U.S. aid, roughly 75,000 crore rupees, ensuring Kathmandu's dependency. Myanmar's Rakhine region, home to the Arakan army, is another theater where the U.S. seeks to undermine China's BRI, indirectly pressuring India. Bhutan, though partially under China's influence, is being courted to prevent full alignment with Beijing. This multi-pronged approach, friends, creates a suffocating web around India. Every neighbor, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Maldives, Myanmar, is either dependent on or aligned with the U.S., isolating India and limiting its regional influence, targeting Modi, a geopolitical and domestic convergence. Friends, the U.S. and Chinese deep states, despite their rivalry, share a common goal, removing Modi to install a regime more amenable to their interests. For the U.S., Modi's refusal to fully align with American dictates, his ties with Russia, and his push for supporting his favorite business houses make him a liability. China, meanwhile, sees Modi's resistance to BRI, his assertive stance in Galwan and Doklam, and India's growing global stature as threats to its regional dominance. Both powers, friends, cloak their ambitions in the rhetoric of restoring democracy, but their true aim is control. The U.S. employs economic warfare to pressure India, punitive tariffs, 50% on general goods, 100% on pharmaceuticals and films, target India's export-driven economy. Restrictions on H-1B visas hit the IT sector, a pillar of India's global influence. The Chabahar port, a key Indian project in Iran, has been undermined, limiting India's strategic reach. The Quad, once touted as a counter to China, has been sidelined by Trump, who dismissed it as a coffee table alliance when India refused to be a mere pawn. Instead, the U.S. leverages Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Nepal to encircle India, ensuring it remains under pressure. China, friends, tightens its grip through economic coercion and strategic investments in India's neighbors, keeping India preoccupied with border tensions and regional rivalries. The Galwan clash and Doklam standoff widened the India-China rift, which the U.S. exploited to position itself as India's ally. only to later pivot to Pakistan and others when India's utility waned. The democracy narrative, a convenient pretext. Friends, the restoring democracy narrative is a smokescreen. The U.S. critiques India's media controls, judicial challenges, and electoral processes, while ignoring similar issues in allies like Pakistan or Bangladesh. China, meanwhile, deflects from its authoritarian model by questioning India's governance. Both powers use soft power, media, and international institutions to amplify Modi's authoritarian government, justifying their interference. The U.S., with its history of regime change in Latin America and the Middle East, sees India as another target. Friends, where economic sanctions and diplomatic pressure pave the way for political upheaval. China's approach is subtler, using economic dependency to destabilize Modi regime, and thus creating internal pressures on Modi's government. India's domestic crisis, Modi's governance under scrutiny. Friends, while the U.S. and Chinese strategies are driven by geopolitical self-interest, their potential to destabilize Modi's government aligns with growing domestic discontent. Modi's tenure, many argue, has weakened India's democratic fabric. Media freedom has been curtailed, with India ranking poorly on press freedom indices. Judicial independence faces scrutiny, and electoral processes have been criticized for alleged manipulations. Most critically, friends, Modi's economic policies are seen by many as favoring crony capitalists like Gautam Adani and Mukesh Ambani, whose empires have grown exponentially while ordinary citizens struggle. Adani's conglomerate, spanning ports, energy, and infrastructure, and Ambani's dominance in telecom, retail, and energy, have benefited from government policies like favorable contracts and regulatory relaxations. Meanwhile, India's common citizens face rising unemployment, inflation, and inequality. The wealth gap has widened, with Adani and Ambani amassing fortunes while millions remain mired in poverty. This perception of looting the common man, friends, fuels resentment, making the U.S. and Chinese narratives of democratic restoration resonate with a frustrated populace. A silver lining for India's citizens. Friends, while the U.S. and Chinese deep states pursue their geopolitical agendas, their actions could inadvertently benefit India's citizens. Modi's removal, though orchestrated for foreign interests, could pave the way for a government that prioritizes democratic values and equitable growth. A new leadership, free from the shadow of crony capitalism, could strengthen institutions, restore media freedom, and address the economic grievances of the masses. Friends, the ousting of Modi, if it occurs, might break the stranglehold of Adani and Ambani, redirecting resources to uplift the common citizen, better healthcare, education, and job opportunities. India's economy, 40% dependent on foreign trade, cannot fully decouple from the US or China. But a more democratic government could negotiate better terms, balancing global partnerships with national interests. By reducing reliance on crony-driven policies, India could harness its IT prowess and youthful population to drive inclusive growth. Friends, ensuring that the benefits of development reach the grassroots. Conclusion: a geopolitical game with domestic dividends. Friends, the US and Chinese deep states are playing a dangerous game in the Indo-Pacific, weaving their respective webs, the American octopus and the Chinese string of pearls, to encircle and control India. Their aim to oust Modi is driven by self-interest. The US seeks a compliant India to counter China, while China wants a democratic India to dominate Asia. Yet, friends, this geopolitical maneuvering could be a blessing in disguise for India's citizens. Modi's governance, marked by weakened democratic institutions and favoritism toward Adani and Ambani, has left many Indians disillusioned. The common man, burdened by inequality and economic hardship, stands to gain from a leadership that restores democracy and prioritizes equitable growth. As the superpowers tighten their grip, friends, India's people may find an opportunity to reclaim their nation from the clutches of cronyism and authoritarianism, forging a brighter, more democratic future. The game is global, but the victory, friends, could belong to India's citizens. Our thoughtful viewers, we work hard to bring important issues and topics in crisp and time-saving manner before you. So please like, share and subscribe and motivate our team, and also comment your views on this important topic. Please visit our website VOPGLOBAL.org and raise your voice. Also associate with us by downloading your volunteer press card available on our website and share your views and news. Team, Digital Media, Asia Voice of the People International.